Okay, so my presentation is on navigating the cosmos, a Kantian perspective on the ethics of financial investment in space exploration. So my focus is from a Kantian perspective, and this is by Kate Hafner. So as an introduction to space ethics, in this context, the focus is on whether the financial investment into space exploration, which is a very large investment, is worth it from a Kantian point of view. And I'll be focusing on the moral implications and responsibilities of these investments and whether they are the best investments possible. So Kantian ethics emphasize duty and moral law, universal principles that respect the autonomy and individuality and independence of all rational beings is incredibly important when considering Kantian ethics. And with space exploration, autonomy of rational beings and independence of rational beings is not a massive problem. The bigger problem comes down to the duty of whether these funds are being allocated in the correct manner, as there are other different options for where these funds could go that potentially could have a greater impact in the short term. They likely would have a greater impact in the short term than space exploration. And so is it the duty, is it morally an obligation under Kantian ethics that this money should be allocated somewhere else, where I do not believe it is. And that's where I'll go to the next slide. So obviously the main question is about resource allocation and human welfare, and whether this money should be dedicated towards the Earth and the people on the Earth currently compared to space exploration, which is a very future-minded allocation of these funds. As Kant's principles suggest, the investment should promote the greater good, and space exploration does focus on the greater good, but from a much more future-looking perspective. And so once you take into account the whole of the effect of what the space exploration would have, I believe that it would have a greater impact than just investing on, for example, the current methods we have on helping with climate change, or the current methods we have on helping with world hunger. Things like this, while they will have an effect with the amount of money that would be allocated from space exploration into these, space exploration will end up being a greater investment for the human race as a whole when we're looking towards the future. As Arnold says in his article on the ethics of space exploration, if the early 20th century was marked by the end of the exploration of terrestrial continents, its cultures, and human societies, the development of science and technology opened up new horizons, especially those of the infinitely small and of the infinitely great. And the main point of this that I want to take away is that the exploration of the Earth helped tremendously with science, technology, with agriculture, with cultural and working together as a human race. So many benefits came from it that at the end of the day, that exploration was definitely a net positive by far. And so when we compare that with space exploration, it's the same concept. As we continue to expand past our borders that we currently have, past our horizons that we're currently used to, our science, our technology, so many things will continue to expand. For example, we will continue to understand and learn more about our place on Earth and our place in this universe, which is incredibly vast. And as we continue to reach new planets, continue to learn more about space, we continue to understand greater what our responsibility in this universe is. And that's just one example of a positive. As far as a greater good for humanity itself, we can look at climate change. As we continue to explore and expand our capabilities in space, it opens new opportunities for how to help with climate change. A lot of the technologies that are used in space do have other applications, or at least other things that we can learn about to help with climate change. There aren't currently that many examples of it, but it is predicted that in the future that will be a possibility, that the more that we expand into space, the more that we will be able to deal with climate change, potentially with some form of satellites that would help with either weather or who knows what, protection from the sun. There's infinite possibilities. As far as the the human race and continuing the human race as a whole, which in my opinion is one of the greatest goods, is continuing the human race and allowing future generations to continue to live. Space is one of the greatest investments that there possibly could be, as there are so many events or possible extinctions, whether it's pandemics, whether it's asteroids, whether it's nuclear warfare. There's so many possible ways that the human race could go extinct due to the matters that frankly are out of a lot of our control. Some of them are still in our control, but a lot of them are out of our control. By having space exploration, by having humans on other planets, by potentially having colonies on other planets, it allows us to have a backup, essentially, a way that the human race will still continue. And as we continue to, essentially that way that if humanity were to end on Earth, there would still be humans in the universe still able to continue the human race and continue to explore, to expand, and to grow. As far as technological advances, as was stated with the early 20th century, just expansion into new areas, we learn so much just from seeing new things. The universe is so vast that the more that we explore, the more that we will learn. There's still so much that we cannot know just because we haven't been to so many places. We can theorize, we can observe other planets, other stars, but there's only so much that we can know without going to these places. And so by expanding, it allows us to give ourselves an opportunity to learn more and to potentially advance far beyond what we even know is capable of currently. And due to a lot of these reasons, it definitely seems that while investments into current problems are necessary, of course, and will help the human race and are part of the greater good, this is one of the greatest goods, as it secures generations in the future and helps them in ways that we don't even know yet. So it is almost a responsibility to continue our exploration of space so that we can benefit those future generations, which is one of the greatest goods. Another thing that we have to make sure is that we are morally responsible when we are in space. As we continue to explore and to expand, we have to understand that current and future inhabitants of Earth are our responsibility still, as well as potential extraterrestrial life. We do not know if extraterrestrial life exists. We don't have any proof currently, but according to our current observations of the size of the universe and to the amount of potential planets that could have life, it seems highly likely that life does exist somewhere in the universe. And if we were to ever run into this life, we would have to consider our obligation to this extraterrestrial life and our responsibilities towards it on how we were to interact with it. As it is currently an unknown, that is we don't have a lot of answers to that, but it would exist. It would seem that we would have similar responsibility as we do to all life on Earth. And if there were sentient beings, it would be the same treatment that we would have to have towards humans as towards this other extraterrestrial life. And so we would have to make sure to consider that as an important fact of space exploration, as who knows when that potentially could be found, as well as I talked about extensively on the future inhabitants of Earth and how we are helping by exploring space, helping them in the future, and that it is our moral responsibility to continue to expand the human race for the future. As a conclusion, navigating through a Kantian lens, space it really calls into question a lot of financial investments because you don't initially see how it helps the human race. There's no immediate benefit, no immediate reaction, which a lot of the times that is a main focus, an easy thing to focus on is the immediate benefits, such as feeding a family in a war-torn country who needs food, or helping refugees, or anything that is an immediate benefit. But when we look at it from a further perspective, from a future perspective, the benefits clearly outweigh the negatives here. and it is a greater good, and it's not impeding on anyone's autonomy, it's not impeding on anyone's right to independence. Therefore, it is, according to Kantian ethics, one of the greater goods that we need to continue to focus on. Therefore, space exploration should be a continued investment by humanity. Thank you so much. Here are my references, and have a good rest of your day.